Inflation just hit 2.7%, and there's a lot of talk about what that means for the New Zealand economy. Is real estate investment still a good idea? Well, today we're asking the hard questions and giving the real answers and cutting out some of those headlines that you will have been seeing. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. My name is George Simpson. I lead the people and operations here at Najib Real Estate. And today, once again, I'm joined by Nathan Najib.
Good to be back.
Good to be back. Best day of the week is filming these videos. So
Absolutely.
no, excited to get back into it. And I've got some questions for you, Nathan, today about some of the recent updates we've had, as well as about real estate investment in general. So let's get into it with a basic first question. Is property investment still the safest bet in 2025?
Yeah, long term, George. Real estate. I'm a real estate guy. I love real estate. It is something you can put your hand on, and it's a great way to create wealth long term. You just got to make sure, trying to avoid buying it in the peak because it takes a long time. If you can hold on to it to gain capital gain. I've spoken about this in the past that the name of the game when you're investing in real estate is to create capital as fast as you possibly can. So for me, real estate is still a solid, good investment to get into for sure.
Question 2, with inflation at 2.7%, what is the impact on the real estate market?
High inflation is a horrible thing because what happens is it makes it unaffordable for people to live, and our economy should be in a way that the productivity goes up and our people can afford to buy you normally. If it's a house, if it is goods, if it is grocery, whatever it is, it needs to be at affordable level. So inflation needs to stay at under 2%. That inflation, the increase that we've had, the unaffordability that's happened in the last few years in particular, is a byproduct of what labor did, like printing a whole lot of money, stimuluses, and that increases inflation. The three things that increase inflation is these three things that increase inflation is cost push inflation, demand pull inflation, and printing of money and lowering the interest, which is lowering interest rate as well. Meaning that these anybody and everybody can go and because things are cheap, people go and buy stuff that increases the inflation always. So the goal for a government is to increase productivity per capita. And how they can do that is to make things easier for these companies. Or, for example, I heard there was in the news. Somebody sent me a little snippet of it. There's a supermarket that's going in Hawes or somewhere. That should have gone in a couple of years ago. That Woolworth or food stuff, I'm not sure whomever that is, that's building that. They've invested. They've put in $2 million before they can even get a consent. So the $2 million, where do they have to recoup that from? They have to pass that on back to the consumers, which increases inflation, and look at right across the board. And one of the other things also, George, I want to point out is National brought in this thing we had a discussion about in the last podcast with Matthew, that National is going to bring in more skilled workers to New Zealand. We're losing a whole lot of people to overseas, which is a horrible thing. We're educating them here, and they go overseas and make it better for the people for another countries, right? So if we can keep our own people to stay here, pay them good salaries, right, and also bring skilled workers here to New Zealand, then our productivity per capita will increase, which means our economy gets better, right? Yeah. And also going back to the Labour government, they like to just bring immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself, so I'm not against immigrants, but immigrants that comes in here, they have to add value to our economy. Otherwise, we shouldn't have them. Sure. So that's my thoughts on inflation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And with the OCR at 3.25%, if you had $900,000 today with regard to real estate, what would you do with it?
For 900,000, you used to be able to buy a lot of real estate. You could have done 2 good investment properties in Christchurch. With 900,000, I would probably still look at buying a home on a full-size section. If I went, perhaps look at one somewhere in Burnside for around 700,000-800,000, and then the other 100,000, what I would do with the remaining 100,000, perhaps I'll look at one good solid investment somewhere with the return might not be still there, but long term, hopefully the capital gain will take care of it. And like I said, it's real estate is very unaffordable in New Zealand. I would have liked the prices to come back a little bit more, so it's a little bit more affordable, and it makes sense for people to invest in.
Sure. And we've got a few mythbusters here, basically true or false questions. First one being, renovating always increases value.
True.
True?
Yeah.
Are there any cases in which it wouldn't?
Yeah, sometimes you can overcapitalize in an area.
Right.
It's a great question. Yeah, because what I'm all about is, like, buying something that needs a bit of love in a great area, and then you renovate it, and hopefully it's worth way more than what you paid for it.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, people go and they invest in a property a lot more. So they over-renovate it, if you will, for an area. Like, let's say they buy a property at 500,000 in Woolston, they spend 200,000 on it to renovate it, like, to a very high standard. Well, for 700,000-800,000, you can almost buy anything in Woolston. So you got to be careful how far you go in renovating a property.
Sure, and people out there might have heard the saying, always try and buy the worst house on the best street.
That's a great
quote. That's true?
That's a great quote. Yeah, absolutely. Your worst house in the best street, like you said, because the average house value in the area, if it's high, it pulls the prices up. If you're surrounded by cheaper houses, it pull the prices down. Like the example that I see, like, Woolston, buying a property in Woolston, you pay 600,000 on it, you spend 200,000 on it. Most houses in the neighborhood probably worth 550 to 650 kind of thing. So that would devalue your property. It's a great quote.
Sure. Another mythbuster is spring is always the best time to sell.
False? Yeah.
Why is that?
It depends what kind of house you have. If you got a nice and warm house, it's nice to go before spring, even in winter, because the buyers are still out there, George. Buyers don't stop looking. But what happens is sellers, that myth that says wait till spring, they wait till spring. Where if you go to the market, you're selling in the goal is, when you're selling a property, to sell in isolation. And when you're buying competition with these heaps of options, right? So to be able to maximize the value of it's just a law of economy, right? So when there's less on the market, go to the market so you can capitalize. You can have a whole lot of buyers competing for your home.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And one that came from a YouTube comment, actually, it is possible for buyers to put offers in without using a solicitor.
True.
Can be done.
Yeah.
Can be done. Mm-hmm. Would recommend it, wouldn't recommend it?
Would recommend. Like, I think it makes it harder if you put a solicitor's approval if there's a multiple offer situation. But what I suggest you do is put your limb, your title, your finance, all those clauses in there, and ideally pass the contract. If your solicitor has to see the contract, send it to your solicitor to look through the contract, because sale and purchase contract is pretty standard. Not much changes from contract to contract. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Well, that's all the questions for today. Thank you very, very much, Nathan. Once again, we'll be back again soon. But for now, thank you very much for watching this episode of Real Talk. As I always say, it's your support that allows us to continue making these, and we will continue making these. Please do check out our other videos where we talk about advice for buyers, advice for sellers, and previous market updates as well. And if you enjoyed today's video, please do like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you very much. This has been Real Talk